somebody up in here that said he's gone all over this sanctuary. He's gone all over this sanctuary. Come on, look at somebody and tell them he's gone all over this sanctuary. So the same God that's blessing somebody down front will bless somebody out in the back if they would just open up their mouth and give him praise. I need about 58 people right now that will take a moment and come on and let's give God praise. This is not a message about sexuality, although sexuality is the language of this dispensation. They don't understand anything outside of that, and even come on, this is not a generational issue, because this is a transgenerational issue. This is not just something that we're dealing with in younger people. This is an issue that is being dealt with in all people. Everybody at this juncture is complaining about loneliness. It's hard to be lonely. It's hard to be alone. And in that, you develop certain appetites. You develop certain fetishes. You develop certain desires. There are certain things. Come on, don't you sit up here like that. Because the person that's dancing the most has an appetite. The person that's got the most anointing has a fetish. And the reality is that we in the church for so long have not dealt with the other side of us. We've ignored it for so long. And we don't deal with it, and that's why our breakthroughs are temporal. That's why we have to wait till the next service to get a breakthrough. We're no longer getting breakthroughs where we live because we're not dealing with the truth of who we are. I discovered the other week, and I had this epiphany, and I said to my church, I said, I just figured out why all of you can't stay off of social media. I said, because social media has presented a platform whereby which you can live a life that is not really yours. I know y'all don't like that thing. See, everybody appears to be successful online. But when you find out what's happening in their bank account, it is the complete opposite of what they showed you on Instagram. Y'all don't want to have church, I understand. But you're not really that wealthy, still living in your mama's basement. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. All right, y'all don't like this. Touch your neighbor, and tell your neighbor somebody's trying to escape reality. Somebody. You mean to tell me all day you're on there? You mean to tell all day? You have time like that? You have time to know who was with who was traveling with who? You have time like that? I know y'all don't like this. You have time to screenshot and to send, and you're that occupied with Facebook, and you're that into Snapchat that now you have bought into somebody else's feud that has nothing to do with you. You have bought into the fairy tale that is social media. Ain't nobody living their real life online.
Come on, Pastor.
Touch your neighbor and tell your neighbor Instagram is a lie. You may be seated. You may be seated. You may be seated. You may be seated. It forces us, Bishop. It forces us. And the unfortunate side of that is that, and I said to my church, I said the unfortunate side of it is that many of you are so consumed with social media that you're failing to build your reality. And your reality is what should be most important to you. You're dealing with insecurities. You're dealing with low self-esteem. You're dealing with loneliness. You're dealing with rejection issues. All of these things contribute to the appetite. Y'all are bored. Let me. I get very nervous when churches get quiet because that means they're bored. They don't. Are you bored? Are you bored? That means I can, I'll tune up and go sit down somewhere if that's what it is. I just want, the reality is that all of these Inefficiencies, they contribute to the growing of our other side. In other words, that's why you have such a downfall within ministry gifts. A lot of people are confused. Well, how can the preacher be so nasty and be anointed? It's very possible. Are you with me? Very possible. Very possible. Now, don't sit there and look at people and say, oh, I heard about him. Oh, I heard about her. Listen, the only reason why we didn't hear about you is because nobody cares. But just wait a few minutes till somebody cares, and then your news gonna be all over the place too. See, the reality is, if we don't deal with the other side of us and what's wrong with us, it will give a key to the enemy to highlight what's wrong with us. See, you defuse the enemy when you embrace your own reality. You see, the reason why the enemy has had a field day on ministry gifts is because ministry gifts are not honest with themselves. See, you stand up there in all your regalia and you preach to thousands, but you don't admit that you have women problems, that you like women. You like good-looking women, or you. And I'm not saying you have to admit it to everyone. You have to admit it to yourself, because when you admit it to yourself, it helps you to watch this, control yourself. See, when you lie to you, you have no control over you. But when you admit to yourself the truth, you can control yourself and curb your urges and your desires and make sure that they are put in its proper place. Because assignment is not the time for you to be you.